Thank you for being a patient audience again. And with this, we are towards the last session for our today's event. Though we have touched upon this topic throughout the day, let's deep dive into it. The theme for this session is transition impact on workforce, opportunities for reskilling and new skills. For the session, we have as our chief guest with us Mr. F.R. Singhvi, President, Automotive Skills Development Council. The panelists, we have Mr. Dharm Rakshit, Senior General Manager and Lead Employee Relations, Hero Motocorp. Dr. Ranga Srinivas Gunti, Head, Talent Development, Tata Passenger Electric Mobility. Mr. Mohit Pathania, Lead, Center for Clean Mobility, OMI Foundation. Mr. Vinkesh Gulati, Vice President, Automotive Skills Development Council. The session is moderated by Dr. Srishta Banerjee. Before that, I would like to invite Dr. Harshil Sharma, Program Associate, iForest, to give a brief presentation to set the context. Over to you, Harshil.
Good afternoon to one and all. The one topic that was common from the discussion we have had till now, among every panelist, almost every speaker has touched upon it, is the impact this transition is going to have on workers and the need for skilling and reskilling. So I was just wondering, what's the need of me setting any context to this session, because most of the topics have already been touched upon. But I'll try to keep it brief, and rather than just trying to reinvent the wheel, I'll try to focus on things of the findings we have got from our field and the things or topics that have not been discussed till now. So just beginning with a few facts, automobile sector, it contributes to around 9.5% of total manufacturing employment, which is the third largest employer among all the manufacturing sector. Total employment for automobile sector is 30.7 million if we collaborate direct as well as indirect employment. We are taking also the raw materials and drivers into the account, and direct we talk about the ACMs, OEMs, dealership services, etc. So from our survey, like we've already discussed, like we have done survey across 3 clusters, 300 ACM survey has been done, and for 1200 worker survey has been done. The major finding was that around 2/3 of these workers are contractual and informal workers, and the dichotomy in this sector is the education profile of these workers is fairly well educated. Like 95% of these workers have completed their secondary education, but around 2/3 of them may not have many employment benefits. Even the training profile of these workers who are well educated, they're informally trained, and around 80% learn on the job, which is an informal form of training, and only 7% have completed any sort of formal training. So what we did for the study, one of the things that we did was impact on job roles that were discussed already in the morning. So briefly, I'll just touch what happened in this study. We tried to map around 564 job roles, which was taken into account with our discussions with stakeholders of the ACMs, micro, small, medium, large enterprise, as well as OEMs, also taking job roles that are available across National Classification of Occupation and National Qualification Register. So we prepared a list of 564 exhaustive job roles. Around 50% of these job roles are in manufacturing sector, and around 15.9% are in service sector. So these are major chunk of where the major chunk of job roles are there. So we try to map their status. So what we found, as was already discussed in the morning, that there is going to be a 5% net increase in job roles when the EV transition is going to take place. Around 31% of these job roles in the ICE ecosystem are going to be impacted, out of which 14% are going to get obsolete, and around 17% are going to get reskilled. An interesting finding among this is that when we try to, we all these 564 job roles, we mapped them according to National Skill Qualification Framework. The people who may not be familiar with it, in crude terms, NSQF, National Skill Qualification Framework, tells us every job role according to its education, experience or skill level. So a lower NSQF level 1 will be a menial or unskilled level job. NSQF level 8 would be a highly skilled or requiring a better level of education. So what we found through our study was a significant portion, around 10 to 15% of these job roles that are going obsolete, that are at NSQF level 1 and 2 in NICE. And the new job opportunities that are going to be created through this study, through this transition towards EV, those are going to be jobs at NSQF level 6 and 7. So low skill jobs are going, and new jobs that are being created are at a higher level of skills. And as already discussed through our modeling scenario, we already saw that the new jobs, that the number of jobs that will be supported by EVs would be slightly lower than that would be at ICE level, but there will be a net increase in jobs in the automobile sector due to this EV penetration. Now, coming to the most important topic that I'd like to set up the context for the panelists, as we have a lot of people with a background of skills here in our panel. What is the skill ecosystem for the auto sector? So, training ecosystem, I would say there is not a very set up training ecosystem for auto sector, but crudely we can divide them into two parts, maybe government supported training system and private training. In the government supported training system, we can further subdivided into long-term and short-term training. Long-term training is mostly done by ITIs and engineering colleges, which have been the hubs through which most of the hirings are done in the auto sector. And short-term trainings under the government programs like Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana and NAPS, which are the flagship schemes of the government. And other than that, major chunk of training is done by private training institutes, which conduct short-term and on-the-job training through the OEMs and ACMs. And when we did a thorough review of all the training ecosystem that exists, our major findings and the context I'll try to set for the panelists are that the skilling policies for the auto ecosystem is very disjointed. Like there is not a proper auto sector oriented skill policies that we can find. I'll give you an example. We have around 15,000 ITIs in India, and around 74% of those ITIs have an auto course in them. That means that almost all 2/3 of those ITIs have those courses, but only 1.1% have any course related to EV right now in their system. If we come to, that's about long-term training. If we come to any short-term training, PNKVY, they have around 523, they have around 40 job roles. And for those 40 job roles, they offer training at only at 523 training centers with a training capacity of 54,000 individuals. And this is strictly speaking about government capacity. There will be much many affiliated centers, but strictly talking about government, the training capacity is very low as compared to the number of individuals that will be impacted through this transition. Talking about government training, like we have some panelists here from ASGC as well, and we got the numbers from them as well. Like out of their 136 qualification packs that ASGC have, are only around 13 are for EVs, and right now they are in the midst of expanding them to other EV courses as well. But still, the number of centers and training capacity is very low as compared to the magnitude of this transition. And so I would just say, like, there is a huge skill gap that still exists in this EV ecosystem, and we need new age courses that when we had a discussion with many stakeholders related to battery management system, battery designing, chip programming, data scientists, many high skilled jobs are going to be created. But do we have those sort of on the job quick capsule courses with us? We really don't know, and we don't have an answer to that. And another point I would really love to set up for our panelists would be, we should not restrict our discussion to just skilling and reskilling. We should also talk about upskilling, and upskilling about which age cohort. We maybe have to, when we talk about this transition, we may have to, through my visits at these auto clusters, I could see that there are many people who have who are above the age of 35 who are still working in these micro, small, medium enterprise. Are they really ready to take these skilling courses? We're not talking about just ITI people or the PMKEY people. Are these the people who have been working in an industry from past 20 years, are they really ready to take these upskilling courses? What are the challenges being faced? So I'll leave it up to Shrestha to take it up with our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshil. Thank you for the context setting. And I would like to first thank Automotive Skills Development Council for supporting us in bringing together this program. And we would have loved to have you in the opening session when we released our reports. But nonetheless, I think you're part of one of the most important sessions. So the way this panel will go, I think I'll first start with Mr. Singhvi, because you have to leave, sir, around 4 p.m., you informed. So I would first invite your interventions also as the chief guests of this panel, and then I will take forward the questions through all of our panelists. And one of the thing Harshil pointed out, and maybe that apart from your overall remarks on the session, one of the key things that when we have assessed has come out with that there is a gross inadequacy in the skilling. I would not say number of skilling programs maybe, but the design of the skilling programs as tailored to the requirements of the EV ecosystem. And if you can share your observations on that, but a broader observation on the whole gamut of skilling requirement that we have been discussing at every point in today's deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting sessions. I would probably like to have conclusion of the entire session for the whole day for my personal use, because I don't have the answers to what you're discussing today. And it would very much benefit me because I'm in auto sector and I'm into hardcore engine components. And my company has, as of today, 2 years ago, we were 85% engine components, and today we are 70% engine components, and the rest is non-engine components. So EV comes today, you can understand my situation, I'll be on the footpath. But I can tell you that I'm having the best of time today being in what I am. Because EVs, if you take in India and abroad, has taken up, in India it is only just the scooters and just the auto rickshaws, which are converting to EVs. If you take world over, in passenger cars, less than 2%. So that being the situation, the question is which direction one should take. And if you look at the EV space and the kind of statistics that you have worked out and what it is, the question is what is the practical reality of EVs coming into what time frame? If you look at the time frame that was Europe had decided 2 years ago of 2030 has now become indefinite. So under this scenario, and with the kind of money being pumped in, with the government support, one has to believe that EVs are going to come. But the question is as to when it would come, what numbers it will come, it becomes a challenge. So when you plan all these, you take a student, he wants to get into EVs because he has a fear that he would not have a future in engine component company. But EVs don't happen in time, happen in number. What happens to his job? What happens to his employment? Now let us look at the scenario, the numbers that have been thrown here is you have to first break into two categories. One is a staff category and one is the workers category. Number two, transition is happening not only in technology of mobility, but it is also happening in the method of production and supply chain. So today when you look at a company like mine, 30 years ago, I would need a very highly skilled person how to fix a tool on a machine. How to grind a tool had to be ground by person. The part had to be made on a lathe machine or a drilling machine. The person had to even know how to run a drilling machine. And today what are we running? I want the worker to be totally de-skilled. I literally want a person not to apply his mind during his operations. Because what we are doing is we are using all the machines are programmed. All he has to do is press a button. He should make sure that the program that is running in and the component is loading is correct. Whether the fixture that is being used, whether the fixture is running fine, the hydraulics of the fixture is not gone bad. Whether the liquid, the fluid that used for cutting, that it is flowing. So it's basically about 5 to 6 line items that he has to see before he starts the machine and before he ends the machine. And if you find something going wrong, like machine breakdown or a tool breakdown, he has to stop the machine. And what he should not do is what he has been told to do and nothing else. So we have de-skilled the activity of a person to a large extent. And if you look at a vehicle of EVs and IC engine vehicles, you remove the engine out. So basically people who are making engines like us will have no business. People of battery and motors will come in. But if you look at who are making batteries and motors, it's highly specialized industry. You have battery manufacturers who are making batteries. Now there's more of battery management program coming in. What is it happening through? It is happening through programming, nothing to do with manufacturing. Manufacturing, look at now today, my company supplies to all the EV companies in India. It supplies to EV companies. You name the company, the biggest company I supply. So as far as I'm concerned, the technical skill that I have is enough for EV vehicle as well. Because I'm into precision machining and forgings. So 80% of the vehicle, whether it's EV or it is non-EV, remains the same. Here it is a production method which are changing, manufacturing system are changing. We are now today introducing Industry 4, smart factories. The whole working changes. My whole power line activity changes. My whole supervisory people role changes. But what is increasing is I'm having shortage of programmers. So that is only increase in number, like you said, 5% of the population will increase in jobs. And these are the kind of people. If you look at the vehicle going forward, be it IC, be it EVs, electronics, electricals, everything is going up. Every item, your light has a computer, your wipers have a computer, everything is have a computer. And what is today going to happen is companies are working on how to have a single computer, that too cloud-based, and all the items of the cars which are being used, be it brakes, be it your wipers, be it your light, everything is controlled by that. What is changing is the wiring harnesses. The whole thing is wired and it is coming into Wi-Fi. You don't need a wiring harness. So it's not transition that is happening only from EV to IC. IC to, this to me is a very small transition. Like for example, what we make engine components, the precision of engine components, if I take the precision of electric vehicle component, like we make shafts, it's much higher because there's no noise level. So the efficiency, what is required, again, it's the kind of machines we require would change more than the worker. Worker is going to work on a machine which gives me 5 micron tolerance. Now he has to work on a machine which gives me 2 micron tolerance. So there, the requirement of precision machines will increase. So when you look at the whole totality of changes that is happening, changes happening through the vehicle is minimal. It is other ecosystem. You look at charging stations. Now imagine a petrol bunk to a charging station, the number of charging stations required. What kind of people are required there? Nothing, no education. Zero education is required to run a charging station. But yes, to make a charging station, it's a totally, whole thing is a new activity. But again, if you look at charging station, 70 to 80% is sheet metal work. There's again electronics, electrical, which are pretty much used today in various other applications, not in the mobility. So today the challenge is that we can encourage people to get into these skills, but where are the jobs for them? Today at ASDC, we are working out that we have created not 13 programs, I think no, another 20, 30 programs in the pipeline. We make the students study, but where are the companies today to employ them? That is a challenge because what was estimated to be that by 2025, 25% of two-wheelers will become electric. Today, not even 25% of scooters have become electric, hardly 10%. So I'm saying, yes, we are getting ready, but the kind of numbers that are being thrown around by people, by the government agencies, everything looks good on the paper, looks good for the people who want to bring in a change, but in a reality situation, whether that boy or a girl, after doing that course, does he have an opportunity in India? And that's why even at ASDC, what we are working is how to send these people abroad. Because there, the number, as it is, youngsters are not there. And these are the technologies where they have reached some decent level, at least in Europe. They need people not only for manufacturing, they need for service. And like it happened with Y2K and how the software industry is, we are trying to correlate to Y2K situation. Some of your youngsters probably born after 90, so you don't even know what Y2K was. But just changing 2 digits in a software line and created the kind of software industry today that we can't imagine 30 years ago. And we at ASDC are looking very excitingly with the same model. and see, we will train people on EV space, electronic space, electric space, and see that they get opportunity abroad. And as and when the opportunity increase in India, and as India is growing, they will attract them back and take them as people we really need. So yes, to me, electric space is going to come in, but whether it's 2035 or 2050, I have my own doubts. Every time it keeps revisiting. I don't want to discourage EV people just because I'm in an IC engine. Let me tell you that in IC engine scooter, my value of parts that I supply is only 1400 rupees because I do only engine parts. But because of EV vehicles coming in, we have moved into other parts of a vehicle. And today, for example, Ola, the number of parts that I can supply, and we started supplies, is 2,000 and another 1,500 more. So every Ola that sells, it's equal to 3 of my IC scooters. The companies which are coming in, basically being, when we have to invest money, then the real reality you have to first assess. You can't put in money to look on numbers. So we had to look at how to be in two ways. So we started with lightweighting component, aluminum, because it's good for batteries, it's good for fuel. And in 6 years, my business has grown from 1 part to 50 parts. So I'm as much interested in EVs. I would like to have EVs, but please be a little more realistic in all these activities. Get ready, but don't be so perturbed or disturbed about whether we'll have right knowledge, because majority of the work that we do in our factories, majority, that is today the number of people I employed, 90% is operators, machine operators. And like I said, I don't need any different training for making parts for Ola or parts for Tesla or parts for Fiat or parts for Maruti. It's the same, just that my machine configuration changes. So there's on the operator side, even with the total electronic system coming in, what is happening? The numbers are going to increase. Semiconductor industry will increase. But those are already there, existing in your mobile phone, in your computers. Everything is there. It is only the same technology coming in here. Your battery management system. And as far as motors are concerned, there are dime and dozen companies worldwide with full research, R&D, the biggest of biggest companies. They already have people for technology. As the number increases, it's not very difficult for them to come in. But the area where I find it challenging is in the programming languages, machine languages, because today it's not only just mobility. Every item is getting programmers are required. And that is common across all sectors. Challenge in my company is not today the workers, neither is going to be when the EV comes in. The challenge is with the staff members. The continuity of people continuing an organization is no longer as good as it was. Today in my company, a lot of my people who joined as first employee, I keep seeing their boring faces. But people I meet about 5 years ago, I don't see them. And somebody at the airport says, "Sir, I was working for you." I see more of such people coming in. So the problem here is the stability of employment, retaining staff members. And in auto sector, we have a big challenge because somewhere the ecosystem gets created. The salaries compared to the companies whom we provide business, their employees get higher salaries than what we get in auto industry. So to me, that is a bigger challenge today, to retain people. If we can retain people, all this technology-wise would not be a challenge. But going forward, be it IC, be it EVs, it is a mobility industry. It's no longer an auto industry. And in mobility industry, there's electronics, electrical, software, and even an IC engine car today, you take the high-end cars. 35% of the value of the car is all these electronics and softwares. So we're already there. So technology is there, learning is there. As and when numbers increase, I'm sure people will be created. In all companies, training centers will be there. ASDC will help out centers. But please bring in better technologies in EV for EV to flourish. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
the Vice President of ASTC is here to catch him on.
So I'll just continue with the conversation. Maybe I'll now turn to, the segregation that we have OEMs and ACMs in the industry. We actually have representation from both Tata Motors as well as Hero. And since morning we have this conversation on skilling, but now let me broaden up the question, is that even to do skilling, you need a more comprehensive approach. And something that, in Western countries, as a process of this transition that has been discussed quite a bit now, is a transition plan for the workforce. What is termed as a workforce transition plan. And it is not only the case of automotive industries. I believe it's a case of any industry where we are looking at enterprise level intervention, not government level intervention. So from both of you, and you can maybe Mr. Rakshit, you can start, and then we can move on to the next speaker, that what is your opinion on this workforce transition plan? Not just focuses on skilling, but actually looks into the number of workers that may be impacted on a time scale, the kind of skill gaps that is required, the kind of, industry diversification that can come in, and all of that. And taking into that, how do you plan for a workforce transition? Your initial intervention, for about 5-6 minutes.
So maybe
Right.
thanks for organizing such a very, very insightful program. At the outset of my opening remarks, I will just like to mention a couple of things here. That the first, you see all the automotive sectors, whether it be in the two-wheelers or the four-wheelers or any kind of the wheelers kind of things, if you find very interesting kind of things, we have a resilience, we have a capability, and we have the aspirations also to grow. Okay, and what is the basis of telling this thing? Interestingly, we find this thing in a very quick transition. We move from one technology to another technology, BS3 to BS4, BS4 to BS6. Now EV is there. Okay, right now the interesting part, like I think IC is also existing, and the EV is taking the space. So both the technology are there. In both the technology, and nobody is billing like a thing. Okay, shut the shop right now because we are in both the segment, IC and the EV also. So we are not willing to shut our IC shop also. At the same time, we are also not willing to let go away the opportunity in the EV sector. So we are in the both the kind of things, and I think the Tata Motors are also in the same presence. So what is you asked for the transition plan? Transition plan is like this thing, the IC versus EV. If I see this thing, what the technological changes are happening. A couple of the things are common, but however, the many of the things which are growing up and which are evolving like. So for example, the more and more emphasis on the electric and electronics, telematics, software, IoT. These are the new component of the skills which is emerging in the EV sectors. Now, if you see this thing, when we started our EV journey some 2 years back, and then after we were we were the last one to enter into this very space. What we realized is the thing that when you have to touch upon, you have not to touch upon what is being manufactured inside, but what is happening outside also. So, for example, the battery pack. So when you talk about the battery pack, it is a very sophisticated kind of things, which requires a completely different kind of a technology. At the same time, when in-house, when we start seeing this thing, we found that there are the gaps both on the blue collar workforce and the white collar. Because white collar is something like in the R&D arena. If you see this thing, that how we are going to integrate all the components together to come out with a EV solution. And it is not ending here, because you have to give also the charging solutions. And the charging solution is also not ending here, because when you have given the charging solutions, at the same time you need to also have the solutions for the maintenance of the charging solutions. So there are threefold kind of things. Now you look back and you start seeing backward integration. And backward integration, you start seeing this thing. In the backward integration, what is happening? That the people who are engaged in the supply chain, in the entire network, the things are changing there also, and you need to also enable them so that your supply chain is not disturbed, and at the same time you are at the shop floor, you are able to manufacture the entire kind of things. So the transition plant is not being limited only at one place, it is scattered around everywhere. As a manufacturer and OEM, what we try to integrate all the relevant components, and we see this thing, how they are going and their capabilities are increasing. So we have our own technical centers, and our technical center head is sitting here also. We developed our EV lab, and EV lab is the one of the, I think, the world-class facility where we start training not only the blue-collar workforce, we start training the white-collar workforce also. And what are the emerging threats which what we'll be going to face in the future? That is also a part of our curriculum. We also integrated with the ASDC, and a couple of the courses are also being run through them. Okay. At the same time, we also try to find out that many of the things we won't be able to do on our own. So what are the solutions which are available outside? And in the process, we realize this thing that can be have a tie-up with the ITIs, polytechnics, engineering colleges, and recently some of the technical institutes has also come up. So what kind of the course curriculum we can run through them so that our workforce is not ready for the current requirements, but they are the future ready also. And that's where the entire transition plans is being worked out, and the execution is also on the way. So I will just stop here, and if any further question I will like to answer.
No, thank you. So you left at a good point, and maybe with that question, Mr. Gunti, I'll try turn to you. One of the important things Mr. Rakshit pointed out was integration. I mean, engaging with the OEMs and the skilling agencies, the engagement that is necessary to actually design skilling programs or design trainings in a manner which is more meaningful. Because if they both function in isolation, then maybe you are training people, but they're not getting employed, and employability is the ultimate question. So from your side, if you can share your observations on this cooperative way of working together, and any specific examples that you would like to share, that how the OEMs and the skilling agencies are partnering to design better skilling programs, and are they working to get people employed? That's the final question.
Thank you. So before going to the training programs, there are three fundamental things happening in mobility space. One is autonomous, connected, and EV. And EV is not something new, which 100 years back, motors are there, technology is there. Electrification is not new thing to the industry. In fact, General Motors have made EVs and they scrapped EVs. You can see who killed EVs, YouTube videos. So EV is not nothing new. But what is happening now, to answer the question, how OEMs are creating the strategy for upskilling or reskilling. I'll not talk about autonomous and connected and software defined, but at least with respect to electric vehicles is, we look at what are those projects or programs which we do 2026, 28, 2030, what we need to deliver as a company. In fact, most of the OEMs follow this approach. Once the projects are known, okay, these are the programs, platforms which we launch by 2026, 28, in 2030. Maybe some are born electric, some are converted, some are hydrogen, some are. Then what we do is we also do a thorough benchmark study, benchmarking what Tesla has done, Volkswagen, Toyota has done. And they have gone ahead 10 years advanced. They are 10 years advanced in, they are working on all the themes which we discussed 10 years before. If you see the articles, Tesla started in 2005, software-defined vehicles, and they're very advanced. But now we have to, because as Mr. Sangvi is telling, that even for EV, writing a software code, piece of code, and improving the health of cell on the fly, on the cloud, and then having a differentiated customer experience, that is going to bring the customer back to us in terms of solving his problem. So either white collar capability building or skilling, or the blue collar, they are connected. So what we do is, what are the projects, what are the themes, how these themes are related to the projects, what are all the departments involved in this entire ecosystem, back end, front end, entire ecosystem, engineering, operations, customer facing roles, what are, and for all these things, who are those employees who needed these, who need to have, at what proficiency level they need, and define those proficiency levels, and then come up and say, yes, uh, for high voltage safety, because high voltage safety is very critical for electrification. I need this many people in this department at this proficiency level for white collar, and for blue collar, I need to, for example, again electrification. I need to train him in 1, 2, 3 things for he or she to be ready to handle the high voltage systems on the line. Similarly for software, because things are completely changing. So the more threat is SDV. SDV, EV is, as Mr. Sangvi said, EV is a small piece, because there it is combustion, it is electromagnetics. There you have EV powertrain calibration, you have EV calibration. There the number of CAN messages came down because EV simplified. Number of parts came down. Now giga castings are coming, simplified in manufacturing process, reducing. So EV, according to me, more than that, SDVs are going to become a big challenge. I will not talk about that. So now, once this framework is fixed, what themes, what proficiency levels, now we are clear. Now we are clear about how to go ahead in terms of planning things. Then collaboration with IITs or CSIR labs or skilling centers or in-house SMEs, or so we will think of next collaboration in these themes. Who are the best people within within India and outside India, and then we map these experts, SMEs, or we know. For example, I'll tell one specific example. IIT Hyderabad Tihan Lab, they're number 1 in autonomous navigation. So IIT Madras electrification, they're doing very good in electrification and control systems lab. So how do we do is we'll map these themes to the partners, and then we kickstart and appraise the leadership, and that's how things happen. So this is what. Thank you.
I'll come back to one more question later, but before that, Mr. Gulati, I'll request your intervention on one of the things that, there is a lot of contractual and informal employment, not just in the manufacturing segment, but also Mr. Singhvi mentioned that in the bigger ecosystem. And the automobile sector transition is not just about this one part, but it is also about servicing, repairing, everything. It's a big one. And you were also part of FADA. So can you reflect your observations on the requirement of workforce transition in terms of skill development, or the alternative requirements that will be there in terms of servicing and repairing? And also, if you can touch upon a little bit on the informal sector, because there are many people who are doing these jobs informally. What can be a strategy?
So thanks. I feel as I represent FADA also, the dealer body, the biggest pain is this today with us. And when you are talking of ICE to EV, the problem is even in ICE we are not complete. So obviously EV is a new thing where there are problems. Even today, the skill gap in ICE is huge. So whereas ICE we have been for around 40, 50 years, we stabilized, but the way Indian economy is growing, the dealers are growing, the automobile, the OEMs are sitting here, they know how growth has been good to us for the past 2-3 years. Whatever skill gap study ASDC, NSDC has done for the past 10 years have gone for a toss. Every year we need around 10 to 20% manpower more post-wise. I feel they agree on that. And additional is EV now, because that's a new technology. Reskilling our current manpower for EV is a bit of tough task, because the concept of vehicles are different. There are a lot of things which are common, like suspensions and all those things, but majorly as it reaches to the electrical part, ECU part, the battery part, that is where our manpower are not trained to or are skilled to. And frankly, what today we are getting, like I am selling EV as a Mahindra dealer, the way things are going on for opening the battery pack, my man has to wear that astronomical suit to touch a battery, which no technician wants to do that. I didn't want to say that COVID suit what we were wearing, because those are still good enough as compared to what the current EV technician need to wear. It's a real tough thing. And frankly, I don't think this is ICE to EV. ICE and EV will both coexist in future. We can't shift. Maybe in three-wheeler segment we can, maybe two-wheeler segment, but not in cars, not in commercial vehicle, not in trucks. Buses can be, but the shift will be slow. So I just calculating this calendar year we did some 4 million cars, which was ever highest for auto industry. 2030 we are thinking of 6 million, and as per government's wish list is that 30% should be EV. OEM's different average comes to around 20-25% EV. So out of 6 million, only 1.5 million will be EVs. It means 4.5 million will still be ICE. So saying ICE to EV won't be right, but both will coexist in the future. Touching on the skill gap, it's huge. Automotive Skill Development Council is trying to bridge this gap, but the problem is the speed of how much we can work. The industry is going faster than us. So we are able to create some 10,000 manpower. The demand goes to 20,000. It's an ongoing process, and obviously being a part of that eco sector, I am happy that the industry is growing. Manpower gap, though, we'll try to cover, but at least industry is growing. Everybody has in a positive mode. As ASDC, we are trying to work on the informal sector also. There are dealers who have some informal contractual manpower. There are aftermarket people also, which before used to have been an unorganized training thing like Guru Chela thing, if you remember. Every workshops had some 5 or 6 young kids, which we can term as child labor, but young kids wanting to learn how to repair a car, working under senior technician as a chela, and then slowly after learning moving out and opening a shop. We have tied up with 2 or 3 organizations, Castrol, DIY, to train them. Obviously, this is just a nascent start. We have a long way to go because that count is more. And the problem is bigger than that. It's not EV. When our auto industry shifted from BS4 to BS6, the informal sector actually lost its importance in the market. So as of today, even BS6 diesel vehicles can't be repaired on the road, which wasn't till BS4. Even BS6 petrol vehicle can be, but it's a bit tough because the technology has grown. The way how features have been increased post-COVID, the way how Singhi-san said about the ECUs adding. So normally any tech equipment you pick up, you find one ECU in it. Washing machine, a laptop, or even a mobile. But coincidentally, our auto starts from 50 ECUs to somewhat 350 or 500 ECUs, depending upon how many features we have. And that is where the problem is. The informal sector is not well versed today to handle that. Forget about informal sector, even the car dealers today, which have trained manpower, at least once a day have to interact with a tech liner or the tech support from the OEM to solve a car. It's so complex that even our trained manpower is facing a problem. So talking about informal sector is a different thing. And the way government is changing their policy towards safety, towards advancement, I feel that gap will increase more if I talk about the informal sector. We are trying to do a lot, but yes, the gap is still there. Giving answer to Dr. Herschel's report, thank you for really putting up crisp data. But one input to him directly is when I talk about an ICE, yesterday we were talking that a product has some 35,000 part line, if I'm not wrong, in a diesel engine. If we drill down to even a nut, and if you talk about EV, there are some 500 part line. So obviously, it could be less, it could be more, depending upon which product we are talking. So obviously, it's the same with QPs. So, course curriculums, what ASDC creates. So maintain, repair, or manufacture a 35,000 to 50,000 part line, we need more course materials, more curriculum than repairing a 500. So that's the basic difference what I want to tell you. Even in ASDC, when we define the course curriculum, like Singvi-san said, there are a lot of products which are being used coincidentally between ICE and EV both. So for a technician to service a EV or a technician to service an ICE, he has to have more knowledge for ICE to service, because EV still is a plug and play thing. We can't open a battery in any dealership or even a manufacturing plant. If today a Tata car goes in for a battery change, the battery will go to OEM. If I'm not wrong, they will have to send it to the battery manufacturer, where they'll open and change these cells to repair it. Even they will not want to take that risk, because 50% cost of the car is battery. Why to take that risk? So that's how I am coming in. I feel the time is less, but thanks to iForest to give us this platform to at least give our views. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think we'll start it also 5 minutes late. So I'll take Rohit's intervention, and maybe then I'll invite a round of questions if there is any to attend to. Rohit, from stemming from informal, and a very specific question to you. You have worked, OMI has worked on skill mapping, looking at the future requirements. And if you can say, because we touched on informal, but clearly in the new technology, always gender is an issue. And in fact, it's also in the Western world, there is a lot of discussions on how women are falling back in STEM education. So in the context of India, what does it show that how women can be integrated when you did the study?
Thank you, Shrestha, and that's a wonderful question to ask. And I'm glad I'm able to talk about this topic as such, because usually you only see women talking about women issues. Probably it should also be men talking about women issues for a change. So yeah, let's start with some good news, and then let's get back to some not so good news. So every 6 out of 10 new hirings that are happening in the EV space are actually of women. So that's actually a great achievement, I think, for the industry per se, and also for the goals of gender equity that I think we as a nation have been aspiring for a very long time. In STEM courses, the enrollment of girl students today is at 43%. And that's a huge number, and that is a very encouraging sign, because that means that we are creating the seeds, we're laying the seeds for creating a workforce which will have a very high percentage of women who will address many of the knowledge requirements, many of the technical skill requirements also. And even in the ITIs today, there are more women enrolled than men, especially in a large number of technical courses, not necessarily automotive, but across the span. So clearly we are heading in the right direction when we think about these numbers. Now, what's the not so good news? The not so good news is that in the overall space, we still have only 11% of the workforce in the EV space as women. Now, you have examples like the Ola Future Factory, which is an all-women's factory. You have an all-women's manufacturing assembly line that Mahindra has. And in fact, that's another thing that you need to realize. A lot of your EVs are also having women in the top management, which is a good sign. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the entire organization is women dominant or women having women in good numbers. So why is that happening? Again, it's some of the same issues that we keep coming back to. The need for skill addressing skill gaps. The education curriculum necessarily does not meet, for instance, the requirements in the industry, especially on the factory floor. It's also got to do with the fact that there is not enough awareness when it comes to getting women in. Now, there are schemes that the government itself has. For instance, the government of India, in a bid to encourage greater women enrollment in jobs, had actually increased their share of the Provident Fund. So that more women are employed, and the women's share is actually reduced from, say, by 1 or 2 percentage points. Now, these schemes are already present. So why are they not getting utilized at the same scale or the same set of, generating the kind of results we need? It's got to do with awareness in across the industry, I would say, in fact. Now, another issue that we've seen is that, apprenticeship was something I think was also mentioned here. Apprenticeship as a scheme has been there, and there are, incentives given for apprenticeship. There are, in fact, stipends given to students who want to go in for apprenticeship. Can that be, and this is where the industry probably can take a voluntary lead, can that be medium to get more women employees to come in, learn skills, hard skills, in fact, not just soft skills, because a lot of what women are right now working on is mostly into software development in this space. A lot of the programming, you go to any EV company today, women are in the software division predominantly, not necessarily on the factory floor yet. Even for the ancillaries like charging ecosystem, the charging infrastructure manufacturers is the same story. So can women be imparted the hard skills? And because we are developing the base with the STEM inductions and the ITI enrollment. And of course, one last thing that I would say, entrepreneurship. I think women at the factory floor is just not enough, in my opinion. We should have more women entrepreneurs, and that has thankfully been a trend that we are seeing more and more. Ampere was, for instance, founded by a woman before it was taken over by Greaves. But these are the kind of examples that we probably need to, also teach our children more about, so that women, particularly the girl child, is encouraged to see that, okay, it's not just about jobs, it's also about becoming a job creator. And then that is when, real parity in that sense will come.
Thanks. Thank you, Rohit. We are at 4:30, so I can take one more little bit. But any question from the audience that we have, because otherwise, but anyone from there? Okay. So my one question to all of you, maybe because all of you have been part of larger enterprises, is that when we go to the ground and we look at small and micro enterprises, there is a lot of faith. And we talked about disruptions happening earlier, we'll adopt to it and all of that, that the small and micro industries are looking up to OEMs to provide some sort of support when it comes to workforce transition, be it terms of technology, knowledge support, training. Can you share with us that is something like that happening now, or what can be a strategy to ensure that happens? Maybe from each of you for 1-2 minutes, your interventions.
Can you just repeat your question?
So what I'm saying is that there is a lot of faith among small and micro enterprises that as this transition happens, maybe in 10 years, the larger enterprises or the OEMs will take care of them some ways, because it has happened earlier also. And it takes on its course.
Yeah.
But is there any sort of that kind of skill development, any sort of support that is currently in existence that OEMs are providing? Because we are already in the midst of the transition at whatever scale it is.
Yeah. You see this thing that when I was talking about the entire ecosystem. It is not about the one segment kind of things. So when you if you are not able to touch upon the entire ecosystem, you will not be able to build up the capability at a large, and ultimately you are going to be hit by that kind of things. So while we are taking care of our own people, the skill development, the scalability, and the re-skilling them, at the same time we are also supporting our the vendor partners, because their success story will write my success story. If we remain we want to remain successful, we need to also equip them with the similar kind of because a lot of the components are coming from their side. And that's why you see this thing not only in terms of the operation excellence, not in the terms of only about the product quality and the design. We also work upon the attitude part kind of things, because learning is the basic kind of things. What I understand is what is your attitude to learn, because if you don't have that kind of attitude, you will become obsolete. So in the context, if you see this thing, that when we started touching upon the entire ecosystem, we also start touching upon that in the past, if you see this thing, the auto sector was much more male-dominated kind of sectors. So when we thought of think that women, the more and more inclusivity needs to happen, so more and more female needs to be on board. Our EV factory, which is at the Tirupati, right now we have the gender diversity ratio is 40%. Okay. At the same time, we don't want to have 100% kind of things, because again you will create the heterogeneity within the society. Because the entire effort is to bring the more and more homogeneity. So it is just to summarize my entire thought, skill is not a domain of a particular kind of things. However, we need to consistently and continuously work upon the improving the skills and reskilling the skills of each and every person who is the part of the entire chain, value chain.
Mr. Do you have any
Yeah, it's very, very close. So your question is how we can enable enable them. So one way is not only suppliers, this new education policy, right? Multiple entry exit, skill based and multidisciplinary. So one way is even within OEMs, after 12th, they can map the job roles to the employees and say, yeah, this guy, he or she gets into first year of this and get a certification program in mechatronics. Exit. And then my talent pipeline is built. Oh, next, okay, second year diploma. So every year it's a skill-based multiple entry exit. So what I'm trying to say, I'm not sponsoring a 12th standard to BTech program, or I'm having a flexibility to map the job role to the skill proficiency levels and sponsor and then put in the talent pipeline and put him on the job. Similarly, same thing can happen to the suppliers, and we can educate the supplier on, and then we can enable them. And at all levels, if somebody wants to, they can get into third year degree honors. Then for few specialized roles, for example, with the kind of disruptions happening, we need SMEs. Technical ladder has to be launched. So my last 1 minute, typically what happens in big organizations, many organizations, first 5 years engineers work hands-on, but after that he or she is promoted and there will 5-6 engineers leading, and slowly they become coordinators. Then after 12 years, they kind of become managers who lose the ground, and they start bridging the message between leaders, and they're more of a, then after 20 years maybe politicians. So what we wanted is to handle these disruptions, we need to launch technical ladder where a person who is core in skills and technology also sees becoming president in a very short whatever case. So launch of technical ladder is very critical to handle these disruptions. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, maybe I'll close, sir, because it's 4:30, and I invite Mr. Chandrabhushan to have the closing remarks. Oh, sorry. Yes, we have a souvenir. I thought, see, we can take the stage as well. Yeah, we can finish it off with the panel. We don't have to. Yeah, please. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the room is quarter. Okay. I think the room is half full or half empty. So, yeah, we are at the end of the day, and after 5 really enriching discussion that has happened, it is very difficult to summarize all the points. But let me bring out 4 or 5 important things that has come out today out of this conference. I think both me and Mr. Kant made it very clear that decarbonization is in automobile sector is because of a reason, and that is climate crisis. And I do not think that we should forget why it is happening. Electricity sector and automobile sector are key to solving the climate crisis, apart from agriculture, the way we produce and eat food. But electricity and automobile are the key sectors. They both together account for almost all the coal, oil, and majority of gas consumption, the primary cause of climate change. So this EV transition is inevitable. Obviously, in the last session and the session before, there was discussion on timelines, when it will happen. Our projection also shows that it will not be as rapid as some of the projections done by Niti Aayog, for example. Niti Aayog projection for 2030 is that 60 to 70% of the two-wheeler and three-wheeler will become EV by 2030. That's not going to happen. Okay? But it is quite possible that 30-40% will happen. And I'll tell you why. Technology never grows linearly. That's the history of technology growth. One of the most seminal work on technological growth was done by a report called Limits to Growth in 1972, a report of Club of Rome. There are many wrong things and wrong assumptions in that report. That report became the foundation of environmentalism in the world. But one of the seminal things that report did was to say that human brain is not capable of understanding and grasping exponential growth. We can grasp linearity. Our age grows 1 year at a time. So biologically, we can grasp linear growth. It is very difficult for us to grasp exponential growth. Unfortunately, technology always grows exponentially. So even though EV is 5% now, don't be surprised if within 2 years it is about 20%. We have seen that in solar sector. In 2014, when the solar mission was being discussed, actually 2012, we thought if we do 20,000 megawatt by 2020, it will be a great achievement for India. In 2014, if I'm not wrong, our capacity was only about 2,400 megawatt. Today, we are 75,000 megawatt. Think about it. This is called exponential growth. It has not happened only because of government. It has happened because technology became accessible and affordable and competitive. The same thing will happen with EV. So my first point is that I think while the growth looks slow today, don't be surprised if it is exponential tomorrow. The second point is, and I think that point came out from our research as well as research that WRI has done, is that the automotive sector is going to become concentrated on downstream as well as upstream. The ICE model is OEM, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4. That will not happen in EV. Because a motor company, the precision motor manufacturer will try to have all the control. And same thing will happen at servicing. In fact, one of the fundamental issues that will happen is the right to service. Do I, as a consumer, has to go to any service station than what my manufacturer is saying I should be going? So I think there will be concentration both at the downstream and upstream. And the third disruption, and this will be a disruption to the sector, and the third disruption will happen in mobility sector itself, where public shared mobility will become a reality. The recent study from Europe shows that about half the youngster will never buy a car. Okay? They'll hire a car. I see that happening in India as well. Maybe it will happen 10 years later, but shared mobility will be a reality simply because we will not have parking space. As simple as that. Okay? So I think we have to look at the disruption in a much more broader fashion in the ecosystem itself and prepare for it. I agree. A lot of the speakers said that we should not only think about the manufacturing part. Completely agree with that. Disruption in service sector, disruption, in the entire mobility ecosystem. These all are coming, but never forget the reason why this disruption is happening. Okay? This disruption is top-down because the world wants to solve climate change. If you don't believe in climate change, then it's fine. I mean to say, then this discussion is not required. But we all are seeing the impact of climate change. Ask a farmer in Vidarbha, or for that matter, why go so far? Go to Nu. And you will understand what is the impact of climate change on people. Let me end, by first of all congratulating my colleagues who have put, extremely hard work in doing these reports and organizing this meeting. So let's give a big hand to everyone. Okay. making a report is always a process, a painful one, but nevertheless, when you create new knowledge, you change society. Okay? That's how society is changed. Society requires knowledge, and we should always, I keep saying to people that till the time there is open and independent knowledge, society will change for good. Till the time there is closed and private knowledge, you are right down the barrel. Okay. So we as an institution will keep producing independent and open knowledge, which is free to everyone. You are most welcome to read the report, give your feedback, critique, so that we can improve in future. Thank you very much.
Now we can take the picture.
Yeah, we can.
Now we can take the picture.
Yeah. Everyone should come. I think everyone should come now. Yeah, everyone should. Okay, sir.
Close, sir, close. Yes. Ready, sir? Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.